The Huns are a very well-known and infamous group of people with seemingly very mysterious origins. Various claims have been put forward over the years as to the origins of this ancient nation, with people linking them to various groups ranging from the ancient Xiongnu Empire all the way to claiming a supposed Siberian origin. Now, whatever the case may be, it certainly can't be denied how much of an influential people they were in the ancient times. Now, in thinking of the word Hun, the first thing that may come to mind for the layman would be something like Attila or Hungary. For many others, it may even be a very loaded term rooted in racism. And apparently, from what I've researched, it's also a term used to refer to a football club. I believe in English football, I'm not too sure. Well, I guess you learn something new every day. But very rarely would the term make someone invoke the image of the Near East, at least in terms of conquest, for it's something many may find a bit surprising, but that really isn't the case, as in reality, this group of mighty steppe Asian nomads didn't just consist of one group of people. Rather, they're said to have consisted of various people groups that migrated to and subsequently ruled over various regions, as apart from Europe, the Huns are known to have invaded and conquered various areas in both parts of Central and South Asia, namely in modern-day Western China, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan, and even Pakistan and parts of India. That's right, you heard it correctly. There were Huns in modern-day Pakistan and India. Might sound a little weird to some, but it's true. The Hunna, as they were known as in Sanskrit, are said to have arrived into South Asia through the Khyber Pass sometime during the 4th century, slowly but surely establishing various kingdoms all over the region. These people are said to have included groups like the Xionites, Hephthalites, otherwise known as the White Huns, the Kittites, the Alkans, and the Nazaks. These people at various points had control over various regions all over Central and Southern Asia, which, if looked at collectively, would span from modern-day southern Kazakhstan in the north all the way to central India in the south. That is a large area of land. This can kind of give you a picture of what kind of people these nomads were. After doing so, they would go to war with the Guptas of modern central India for nearly 40 years. This is where their military prowess would first show, as despite being fewer in number, the Kittites would dominate the Guptas militarily, making it next to impossible for the then Gupta king Kumara to defeat them in battle. And had it not been for his son repelling the invasion, the Kittites could have very well ended the Gupta Empire then and there. Now, despite their eventual defeat, the Kittites still ruled over a large territory of land, and would effectively culturally Iranianize after taking over, as can be seen from their minting style. But despite this, their actual relations with the Iranians were far from good, as the Kittites during their reign had essentially put the fear of God in the Sassanids. And due to this fear, the Sassanids would pay tribute to the Kittite kingdom up until the reign of Sassanid king Yazdegerd II, who became the first Sassanid to refuse to pay tribute to the Kittites, which was seen as a declaration of war by the Kittite kingdom, who under their king Kungas would eventually go to war against the new Sassanian king Peros I, who, just like his predecessors, was very well aware of the reputation the Kittites had, and as such would ask the Byzantines for help. Now, the Byzantines would obviously refuse, but the fact that the Sassanids had to ask the Byzantines, who were essentially their mortal enemies, for aid in trying to defeat the Kittites, should paint us a picture of the reputation this people group had in those ages. Now, with that going nowhere, Peroz would try taking the diplomatic route by presenting his sister in marriage to the Kittites, something they would accept, but this would later turn out to be a trick, as the woman who was presented to them turned out to be a commoner and not a royal princess. As such, the Kittites would respond in typical steppe nomad fashion by inviting a group of Sassanid officials to their court and subsequently murdering them and sending their remains back. This would then restart the war, and this time, with the help of the Hephthalites and the Alkans, two other Hunnic groups, the Sassanids would defeat and put an end to the Kittite kingdom. Now, obviously, with this being the Huns, it didn't really end there, as with the defeat of the Kittites, a new group stepped in and took over much of what was former Kittite territory, This group were the previously mentioned Alkhans, who in the 460s, under their king Kingila, took over former Kitterite territory and established the Xiongnu Empire, which would go on to rule well into the 600s. The Alkhans are most famously known for the destruction of the ancient city of Taxla and for the decline of Buddhism in this region, all of which was done by the Alkhan ruler Mihirakula, who honestly deserves a separate video of his own, which I might just make someday. This empire would eventually be defeated and dissolved by the late 7th century. Last but not least would have to be the Hephthalites, otherwise known as the White Huns, an entity that ruled over a kingdom which has to be one of the largest of all the previously mentioned kingdoms, amassing a large amount of land, including various parts of modern-day Central Asia, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Just like all the other Hunnic kingdoms, the Hephthalites were a force not to be messed with, as these people were with exceptional ease able to take over various swaths of former Sassanid land within a 10-year time period. The Sassanids once again faced great difficulty in trying to defeat these people, with the ruling king Peroz I being taken prisoner twice, and in order to gain his release, being forced to give up his son as ransom. And as if things couldn't get any worse, in the year 484, King Peroz I would get slain in battle against the Hephthalites in the Battle of Herat. After this, the Hephthalites would capture Peroz's daughter, aptly named Perozdoht, and marry her off to the Hephthalite king. This marriage would then bore a daughter, who would then be married off to Peroz's previously hostage son. Yeah, things were very weird back then. Anyway, now, the son in question, Kavad I, would then be made king of the Sassanid Empire, effectively making the Sassanids vassals of the Hephthalites. This would make the Hephthalites essentially a regional powerhouse. Kavad would also frequently use Hephthalite soldiers in his campaign against the Byzantines, as evidenced in some cities in the east of the Byzantine Empire. The Hephthalites would also expand eastwards into Central Asia, taking over places like Tarim Basin and the city of Urumqi. Now eventually the Hephthalites witnessed a downfall, as by 530 CE, after Kavad I's death and the ascension of Khosrow I, who planned on getting rid of the Hephthalite problem, and through the help of a new rising power from the east, the Gökturks, is able to do so. Although this didn't really bring an end to the Hephthalites, who were still ruling areas that were taken over, but this time only as vassals of both the Sassanids and Gökturks. Now the Hephthalites would recreate their state in the year 689, under the Hephthalite leader Nezek Tarkhan, but it would be a short-lived one, as by the year 710 the Hephthalites would suffer a defeat at the hands of the Umayyads, effectively putting an end to the Hephthalite state and thus Hephthalite rule. And there you have it. That was the history of Hunnic presence in West Asia. Now, what became of the Huns after this is rather unknown, but it is mostly believed that they assimilated in local populations, adopting local customs and effectively indigenizing into the local peoples they once ruled over. In the modern day, there have also been groups that claim to have Hunnic ancestry. The most notable of these groups have been the Gujars, a semi-nomadic pastoralist nation living mostly in the Punjab province of modern Pakistan, although genetic testing has largely come up as inconclusive. Now, whatever the case may be, it certainly can't be denied that the Huns have had a very significant role in the history of this region, something that many people in the modern day have very little knowledge of, but hopefully this changes as time moves on. So this is my first YouTube video that I made on my own without using AI or anything, and I hope to make more videos like this in the future, because history has been one of my favorite hobbies for quite some time now, and particularly the history of the region of modern-day Pakistan is something I take a lot of interest in. So if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about, let me know in the comments, as I do plan on making more of these videos in the future. Until then, like this video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon for future updates. Until next time.